Good morning, my dear scientists. How are you? I hope you are all doing fine. I miss all of you. Today, we are going to start with our online lecture. Actually, I will be recording the lesson, I will be recording the lecture, explaining everything, and sending the video on Classera, and then you will be downloading it ahead of time before the period. You were sent a lesson plan that shows the periods of every class. You will be downloading the videos or the lectures ahead of time, and be ready with your book, please, with your notebook, with your highlighter and pencil, as if we are in the class. You can stop the video a little bit, pause it in order to write a note, in order to highlight something in the book. As we are used, I underline the things to be highlighted in your book. At the same time, I will be opening a discussion group where you can ask me any question there if you didn't understand something, if you want to participate, if you want to answer a question, um, if you want to share something with us about the topic we're talking about. I will be gladly seeing your comments and your messages. Don't freak out, everything will be fine. It will be fun and new to all of us, but you will enjoy it. Today's lesson, if you remember when we started last week talking about classifying rocks, we started this lesson, but unfortunately we couldn't continue it. So we are going to work on this lesson, which is chapter 6, lesson 2, page 245 in your books. So it's page 245 in your books. For the objective of this lesson, we will be categorizing the rocks into three main groups, which are igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Scientists classify rocks according to many things, but concerning this lesson, we will be classifying or categorizing the rocks according to how they are formed. So to start with, we all know that we have a lot of types of rocks. Earth's crust is made of rocks. Huge boulders are rocks. They are huge. Sometimes we can find rocks that are very tiny, that are very small, that need a microscope to be seen. Actually, rocks are non-living, so they are non-living, and it can take millions of years for some rocks to form. Or sometimes other rocks can form very quickly. It depends on the type of the rock or how it is formed. So, as we said, one important way scientists classify rocks is based on how they are formed. The changes that form rocks produce three main kinds, as we mentioned: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Now, kindly, when we are done with the lesson, you will have time to solve this question. You may submit it at the end of the day. If you're done at the end of the lecture, this would be excellent. So you may just write the answer on your notebook, take a picture and send me a picture on Classera, or you may uh, send directly the answer as a message on Classera. Okay? So kindly highlight what I underlined in this page, page 245 in your books, and let's move to the other page. The first type that we are going to talk about is the igneous rocks. Um, Rocks that form from molten rocks are called igneous rocks. So remember when I showed you the picture of the volcano And I asked you about the things that are coming out of the volcano. So one of you said it's called magma, and that's right. So rocks that form from the magma that cools down is called igneous rock. So a rock that forms from molten rock is called an igneous rock. Igneous rocks may form above or below the Earth's surface. Sometimes the lava means it's the molten rock. It's called the lava. Sometimes the lava oozes from a volcano like a red hot river, or it may fly from a volcano in hot, gooey globs. Either way, the lava on the surface will cool down quickly. It may harden into solid, igneous rock in just a few minutes, or it may take days to do this. As the lava cools, mineral will crystal. Minerals or the mineral crystals will form and they will form what we call an igneous rock. One example of an igneous rock is the basalt. Basalt is an igneous rock that often forms under the ocean. The ocean water quickly cools the lava. So let's repeat this. We have the first type of rocks, which is called the igneous rocks. Igneous rocks, by definition, are the rocks that form from molten rock. So when a rock melts, like for example the lava or the magma that is erupted from a volcano, when these rocks melt and then cools back or crystals or form crystals again, this is what we call an igneous rock. And this igneous rock may take just few minutes to form or it may take days to form. One example of igneous rocks is the basalt, which is formed under the ocean. Now, sometimes we said that the magma takes a lot of time to cool. The magma cools slowly. As it hardens, the crystals of the mineral will form the rocks. These crystals will be large. The cooling and the hardening of magma into igneous rocks below the Earth's surface is a very slow process. It can take more than a million years. So this shows us that sometimes this is the basalt that we talked about. So basalt is one of the most common igneous rocks. It often has small fine crystals. Another example is the gabbro. The gabbro is similar in makeup to the basalt but has large crystals. So if we see a rock that has large crystals, we will know that it took a lot of time for these crystals to cool or to form. Okay, so these are two examples of igneous rocks. So the basalt has very small or very fine crystals, and the gabbro has large crystals. So the one with the small crystals will tell us that it cooled very quickly, while the gabbro will with large crystals will tell us that this rock formed very slowly. So as for answering questions, we have now question 1 from page 246, and we have question 3 from page 247, please, to be answered. Now, the second type of rocks is the sedimentary rocks. By definition, sedimentary rocks form when layers of sediments settle on top of one another and harden. Sediments actually are made up of soil, shells, bits of rocks, and dead plants and animal matter. So these all are called sediments. So the sediments are soil, shells, bits of rocks, dead plants, and animal matter. So when these sediments settle on top of one another and harden, this is this will form what we call sedimentary rocks. Water, wind, ice, and gravity make and move sediments from one place to another. So we have water will move sediments from one place to the other. We have wind, we have ice, and gravity. So these four factors will cause the movement of sediments from one place to another. Newer layers will press the older layers together. So newer layers will press the older layers together. So as if we are putting things on top of each other, then the things that are on the top, which are the new layers, will press the older layers that are beneath them. This will form what we call sedimentary rocks. Now, scientists classify sedimentary rocks according to the materials in the sediment. Didn't we say that we have a lot of types of sediments, which are soil, shells, bits of rocks, and dead plants and animals? So, the rock that is formed um, from one type of sediment is different, or it's classified differently than the rock that is formed by bits of rocks, for example. So some sedimentary rocks form from materials that were once living things, like as we said, plants or animals. Limestone, for example, is often made of hard skeletons and shells of sea animals that lived long ago. So, one type of sedimentary rocks is called the limestone. The limestone is actually formed when hard skeletons and shells of sea animals that lived long time ago are pressed or formed or stacked above each other, and at that time limestone is formed. Sandstone is another type of sedimentary rock. It's usually made up of bits of quartz that are each about the size of grain of sand. So it's very tiny. So if we look here, sandstone can form from quartz sand. So it forms from sand. So the type of sediment that form the sandstone is tiny bits of sand. They are stacked on each other to form what we call a sandstone. While on the other hand, the limestone is formed from tiny bits of skeletons and shells of sea animals that will be um, formed above each other. A third kind of sedimentary rock is made of very tiny particles. These particles usually settle at the bottom of lakes or oceans. Shale and mudstone are two examples of this kind of rock. So, mudstone is an example of a sedimentary rock that is formed due to particles, very tiny particles that settle down at the bottom of a lake or an ocean. After being settled down and they are stacked above each other and pressed, they would form what we call the third type of sedimentary rock, which is the shale and the mudstone. Okay, so I want you please to answer also question 5. So up till now, we have questions 1, 3, and 5 to be answered, please. The last type of rocks that we have for today is the metamorphic rocks. High temperatures deep inside the earth can change rocks. So When we say metamorphic rocks, we have to say that it's one type of rock that changed into another type. So the third type is called metamorphic rock. High temperatures deep inside the earth can change rocks. The rock is also under pressure from the weight of the rock above it. So sometimes the two factors that will affect the changes of rocks from one type to the other uh, is the temperature and the pressure. So the two important factors that will cause metamorphic rocks to form are the temperature and the pressure. These forces can cause rocks to change from form completely to change form completely. Rocks that have changed as a result of heat and pressure are known as metamorphic rocks. I don't know why this is happening. Okay, so we're highlighting this part of, okay. Okay, as metamorphic rocks form, they can change in several ways. So we said that heat and pressure are the two important factors um, for the formation of metamorphic rocks. So heat and pressure may cause the mineral crystals in the rocks to change. Sometimes the chemicals in the rock form new types of minerals. For example, the mineral graphite is made entirely of carbon. Enough heat and pressure can turn graphite into diamond. So, this is one example of how pressure and temperature can change rocks from one type to the other. Metamorphic rocks can form from sedimentary, igneous, and other metamorphic rocks. Limestone, a sedimentary rock, can become the metamorphic rock marble. So, limestone can change into marble due to pressure and heat. The igneous rock granite can become the metamorphic rock gneiss. So these are two examples that show how metamorphic rocks are formed due to pressure and temperature. So metamorphic rocks can form from rocks that were previously metamorphic, that were previously igneous or previously sedimentary rocks.